Bob's Your Uncle video, where I continue to work on these MCP servers, this Model Context Protocol. Just a little pet project of mine, so I can learn more about how all this, some of this AI tooling is working. But if you haven't looked into it and you're interested in this AI, I think this is definitely something you'd want to research and learn a little bit more about. This is from Anthropic. And I think this is the key sentence, right? Or one of the key sentences in this whole thing is just a standardized way to connect these AI models to different data sources and tools. So these guys are really great at what they do, but then there's also some additional, data or context that they just don't know about and they don't know how to get it. So this is where the MCP server comes into play. And, you can expose this data via tooling and resources. So it's pretty cool. So as I mentioned, I'm working on this particular one here. It's this education data systems, very basic, but what's available here is you can go get all these different reports by year. You can get these different reports by the survey, and then they all have like a sub. Like here's all surveys here for 2023. And then here's all the completion ones for 2023. Here's the institution characteristics, this is what I just added. And this is a list of all the universities and institutions for 2023. And then these files have these CSV files have a whole bunch of columns and rows and stuff. So let me show you what one of these looks like. Let's first start with the actual completions one. So this is the file that I'm interested in. We have the unit ID here. This is the university ID. And then for my example, I'm just doing graduation completions here's the total of male versus female. So here's the male column, and then here's the female column. And these columns, names are all in the dictionary. You can download a CSV file that has a dictionary in there and explains what all these columns are. So that's what I'm using here. So we're going to go ahead and download and process this CSV file using pandas, and then join it up against another CSV, which is that institution data here. So you can see here is the University of Alabama. So this previous one here, if we take this guy, you can see here like 654 is University of Alabama. So I wanted to be able to pass in the the institution name, and then have it return back just the specific data for that university. That probably all should make some pretty good sense. So, I mean, it's your traditional, like, kind of, I don't know, basic report, but the whole point of this thing is like able to do this stuff without moving a bunch of data around, without a bunch of ETL processes. Now this is, small data. Obviously you still got to have ETL for a lot of things, but I definitely see the puck go in this direction. So let's go ahead and let's fire this off. Well, actually, let me do a couple things here first. So the university data, as I mentioned, I've exposed that to the MCP server via a resource, okay, and a templated or dynamic resource. So you can see here I have this IPEDS institutions, and then the year. You pass in the year. I've downloaded like 2022, 2023, and this will essentially read in that file and return the data, okay? Now, this all works fine and dandy, but I also have to expose it to the client, and the way I do that is through a tool. I think this is the way you do it. At least it's the way I've figured it out so far. So I have a tool here called Get Institution Data. You pass in the year and then the institution name, optional. And then you can see here, and we also pass in the context. This is really important right here. You got to pass in the context. So this is available to all these tools. You just need to specify that you want to pass it in if you want to hook into this. But since I pass this in, this allows me to call basically on itself the read resource function here, and I pass it in this URI. So this URI here is going to match over in this resource. It's going to call this and do whatever I tell it to do. So that's pretty slick. Okay, and then we just load it up and do some filtering of it. Now, all this I had cursor write. I didn't write any of this. I mean, I probed it a little bit, did some, hit it over the head a few times to make it do some things that I wanted to do, but this just goes to show the power of some of this stuff, because I am not a pandas pro, but I can look through this and figure it out pretty quickly. All right, so where are we now? So that's the tooling. All right, so if you haven't seen this before, it's this node, and you can actually run my MCP server and use this node inspector to look at all the resources, tools, and prompts and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty cool. So if we do MCP dev source and then my main, this will fire up that little node app. And then I have here this local guy running. All right, so you can see here is this node inspector. You click the connect, it connects to my MCP server. See right here. And then this allows you to see things like resources, prompts, tools. You can ping it, all that stuff. So it's pretty slick. Now, I don't have any resources defined, okay? But I do have that templated or dynamic one defined. So if I go list templates, you'll see this function here that corresponds to basically this one right here, okay? And then I can click this, and then I can enter in the year. So right now I have 2023 and 2022. So if I put in the year, say read resource, see right there, iPads institutions 2023, it filled that in, and it called that read resource right here on that file, which returned this, okay? And we'll go ahead and filter all this out and only get what we want. All right. So you can see here is, all right. So here is the method read resource, and then here's the output. So if I wanted to do 1900, which I don't have, you'll see that'll just be a return, it's not found. I don't have it. So that's that. The prompts, I haven't done anything with that yet. And then tools, this is that tools that gets exposed to the client. Okay. So these are all those different ones that I was telling you about. So this is the one where it's a tool that we expose to the client that calls that resource. So for instance, I want to go 2023 and I want to go University of Colorado Boulder. Okay, and run the tool. So you can see here it returned the data. It's probably a little easier to see right here. So there's the year, there's the institution name, read that resource in, called all that pandas stuff, and it returned the columns that I want. So I only get the ID, the name, and city and state. So that's the node inspector. It's pretty slick. So let's go ahead and play around with this a little bit more. All right, so pull this out of the way. I got Claude Code running, as I mentioned. So these are the MCP servers. So this is the same MCP server that we were just connected to at the node inspector. And now let's just go ahead and start asking it some questions here. So this is kind of like the chat mode of the mcp-cli, which is a Python client that you can connect and kind of do the same thing. So, all right, let's do this. What are all the available surveys for 2023? Okay, that's going to be calling my tooling and pulls that back. All right, cool. That's what we want. I know this is survey number 3. What is the ID and title of the surveys. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll try it. Yeah, all right, that's what I wanted. All right, so we want number 3. So I have a tool here. It kind of like it's smart enough to figure a lot of this stuff out, but I have a tool here that I pass in the survey number and the year. So like here, what are the downloadable surveys for completions? Survey number 3 for the year 2023. So I run this, and you can see it called my tool here, and it passed in the survey number and 2023. So if you're kind of like trying to understand what's going on here, this is essentially doing, if we were to go here, 2023, I want to go to completions. I click this button, and then it returns this. So that's this right here is this information here, okay? So you can also, we could say, all right, let's get a little bit more specific here. What are the surveys that are available for completions 2023 where its award level is by gender, race, and age? And it should return just 1. Which it did. That's the right one right there. This guy here. All right. So now this is where the Claude Code thing kind of really starts to level up, I think, the functionality. So it can run like commands on your workstation, which is pretty powerful, which the typical CLI like Claude Desktop or this mcp-cli can't. So where that's important is right here. I say, okay, download this file, which this is exposed as a tooling, and then unzip the file in this directory you have access to. So it knows which directories it has access to because of that MCP server file system. I actually, when you set it up, you tell it what directories it can access. And then if there's any existing files, go ahead and delete them first, okay? Just for shits and giggles. So you could you could do all this stuff, but you'd have to write a tool to do all this, like, the unzip and RM. It's not rocket science, but I think this just kind of showcases some of the power of this Claude Code. So let's go ahead and run this. So it's downloading that. Okay, it downloaded that file to a zip. Now it's unzipping it. You can see here it's running these commands. So the bash is obviously Claude Code doing its magic. It knows that it's a zip file, so it does the unzip here. And then this is my tooling. It's calling my tooling to do the downloading. And I'm just using HTTPX to do this. All right, so that's that. Now let's go ahead and run this. So check this out. This is kind of cool. So I'd say here, okay, cd into this directory, and then basically run the completions percentage py with the output text, and then here is the full path of the CSV file that you just extracted, and then with the unit ID of the University of Colorado Boulder for the year 2023, and with the institution name. So it's going to know, if it already hasn't, because I don't think we've ran this, but it'll run the tooling to get this information. So going back to what we were looking at in the node inspector, it's actually going to run that tool that calls that resource that reads in that CSV file, and then it uses pandas to filter that stuff out, and then it'll just fill all this in for you. So let's see if this works. All right, so there. So see, it ran right there. It ran the institution. Let's go do that. All righty. Why is it doing that? I don't know. But there it is. So it went into that directory. It ran the UV run, and it passed in the file that it downloaded. Here's the the ID for the University of Colorado, and here's the title. So then my little report here is just this. So, I mean, this is crazy stuff. All right. And then I also did this. I mean, can you write the results summary to a summary.txt file? All right. So hopefully it'll write this. There you go. Yeah. All right, cool. So there it went. Put it in the data summary. So let's go look at this thing. Make sure, where are we? Workspace, data. Not in the directory. I'm probably in the wrong area. Oh, updated this. Thought I was in the right directory. Well, I didn't do that. Oh, sorry. There it is. All right. Pretty cool. All right, so that was fine. Let's show the CLI here. Now, oh, this is some old stuff here. So there is a CLI here. You can just go download this from GitHub, and it uses, it's just basically creating a client for this stuff. And then you set up your servers, your MCP servers, just like you do with Claude Code and Claude Desktop. And here's the command that I run, this the directory, and then here's my main that it runs. And then what you can do is you do mcp-cli here, and they updated this, and if you don't specify interactive, it just drops you into chat right away, which is fine. But then you say, here's the config file for the server, and then this is the server I want to run, is this iPads. So let's go ahead and run this, and you can see here we're using OpenAI to do this, and you can do some stuff like this. You can see all the tools. You can see the resource, which we don't have any resources. We don't have any resources defined. And these clients is, I guess they can't call these resource templates directly, so that's why I did it as a tool. So this tool here will call that. All right, so let's go ahead and enter in chat mode. Take a look at this, and we'll kind of do the same thing, but I don't know if it's as smart as Claude Code, so let's do the same thing here. What are available surveys? Call in my tool. Nice thing I do like about this is all my logging that I'm logging to a file. It also outputs it to here. So you can see I told you we were using, well, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm just using Beautiful Soup to do this. So it calls that, and then we extract out all the content placeholder table results for this stuff. Okay. I found 60 surveys. All right, now let's do this here. Oops, still thinking here. What did I do? It seems like it might be stuck, which is not good. What did it do here? All right. Chat task. All right. I don't know what happened there. So let's try this. I think I'm still in chat. Let's say what surveys are available for completions with survey number 3. Oh, I must be out of chat. Let me get back into chat. No, let's exit. Okay, well, start over. And here, let this run. There's 5 surveys for 2023 with the survey number 3, and returns this. Is kind of nice. All right, that's cool. And I think this should probably just hopefully return the C1. There's C right there. Okay, now one thing is, so I do have the download exposed in the tooling, but with the Claude Code, remember we said it to unzip it and delete the file and all that junk. That part will not work. So because it can't do things like run external commands here. So let's see what it does here. So I downloaded that. Yeah, see here it just says, hey, I can't do this. You got to kind of go do it yourself. All right. So one thing though is we can, it can't run that, the UV run again, but we could say what institution data can you provide for Colorado Boulder for 2023? Let's do this. There it is right there. Okay, so now it ran this, so now we have this in the context, and then I can actually run this. Now, it won't be able to run this command because it can't go to the external tooling, but we should be able to see it should pass in the unit, the ID here, and then the name here. I mean, it'll come back and says I can't run this. See, but right there, all that, there's that, and there's University of Colorado. So let's just try this and go here. Okay, just cutting and pasting, and let's try to run this, and let's do that. Boom, Bob's your uncle. Wow, this stuff's crazy. So there you go. I think this is a pretty cool little example of, doing some basic ETL that's kind of ETL-less, I should say. I didn't have to write any workflows to download all this stuff and load it into a database and create an ERD and blah, 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 which is, pretty awesome stuff. But this is actually, I think, the wave of the future where things are going to go. So there you go. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, smash the like button, click subscribe, as they always say, because it helps the channel out. But I'm doing this as just kind of fun. I find it really interesting. But if you got any questions, let me know. And there you go. Bob's your uncle.